Marcia, why don't you have the survivor tree on this? Why don't you have the survivor tree on here?
I don't know. This is just some of the one, nothing's set in gold on all these. They were just a list of places that we had. I'm sure it can be added on there.
I would hope it's a national treasure. I would hope. Thank you.
You said Jerry's in the building? Is he in the building?
Yeah, he walked in with me. I don't know where he went. I don't know if he went to the bathroom or what.
Is Annette here?
That is here. I saw her less than
Can
a
I
minute
just
ago.
wait till, will you go get her?
I'll go.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, Monday, February 20th at 2023 at 5 p.m.
Will Hyman.
Here.
Gary Key.
Here.
Jim Malpaduch.
Here.
Jerry Ripple. Wayne Worth.
Here.
Vice Mayor Duncan. And Mayor Marino.
Here. Today, we're going to have additional discussion on the proposed budget for fiscal year 223-224. Steve, do you want to do the agency's request to start off the first thing?
Right, the library has requested to go first, so the representative will speak to the podium.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, I'll have to recuse myself from if we're going to do the agencies first, because I think five of the 9 agencies are partner agencies for United Way, and I'm under board, and plus I'm their campaign chair. So
Do you want just to listen to the ones that you're not involved with as a United Way, or do you?
I think they're going to jump back and forth. So it's no use in just me getting up, continue to get up.
There's
and
4
down.
will be represented tonight. The library, Harrison County Economic Development, the History Museum, and Historical Society. Are you part of all those?
Oh, okay. I'll be able to stay for those then. I was just looking at the other agencies that are on the budget in the budget packet that were United
Well,
Way. So.
can you do the United Ways maybe all last or something?
We
Is that
can.
possible?
Okay, great. I'm good then.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Folio. I'm currently the president of the trustees of the Clarksburg Harrison Public Library. As far as I know, I'm here to encourage your vote for an increase in our budget there at the library. We're currently at a 6.2% per capita, and we'd like to go to 8%. And I believe that was presented by our interim director, Amy Eckel. So do you have that in your possession?
So,
Okay. As with everything else, prices and costs have increased in our operating budget, and I think this is just a small percentage that we're asking for. This is the first year in years that we've come to you and asked for an increase. So I have nothing else really to discuss.
Steve, is there, I can't seem to find my, is it on a budget section in the
I
back?
have it on page 42. It
That's
looks
page
like,
42 starts.
Okay, I'm sorry.
looks like $225,000 up from $174,425. Is that, am I reading that correctly?
I think that 170 is just what we are at so far this year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Proposed budget from,
Yeah, that's the year to date. I'm sorry. Yeah, we approved, I take that back. It appears to be less.
Right, and that's just an estimate based on the tax calculation. That actually does not include the increase for the 6.2% to the 8% per capita. because later on we were gonna present to you that you can use ARPA funds for the library. So we thought that maybe we can go that route. So it's not actually in this budget, but we're hoping to do something through the ARPA.
We never did finalize a number that we were going to use, did we, at the last meeting for the ARPA monies? I mean, for the payoff?
No, it was never finalized.
Okay. Is that in the discussions now?
Not right now.
Not right now. It'll be after. Okay.
I'm showing that $225,000 plus, and then there's another line item for the back pay at $123.99.
Right. The 297 that we thought we owed them in back pay, the state auditor's office actually checked our calculations and it's less than that.
Okay.
So we took the 297 out and put in the 123 for now.
That would be over 2 years paying it back.
And that would be the lump sum at once.
Does that sound correct, Mr. Folio? And
Yes, sir.
Have you heard about that? I guess that's the first time I've heard of it. So
I just heard about it this afternoon.
Okay.
I'd received an email from our director, through Kim, and he was explaining all that with the state auditor, having looked at the information, and they came to the terms that she has outlined for you. So
It's a big change.
Yeah,
It
significant.
was. That's since 2012.
and that is something we could use the ARPA funds to pay for
Yes.
straight up. Sure. Yeah.
I realize that's a relief for you all, but I would appreciate, these are two separate topics that we're discussing right now. One being just our budget for next year, and what I'm here for is the 6.2% to increasing it to 8%. But then the other matter would be this, the ongoing issue of getting those back funds that were owed. And we certainly would appreciate in that matter that we get it taken care of so we don't push it down the road any longer.
And as far as the city, we're committed to 6%. Is that what we're required to fund?
I don't have the exact percentage from the worksheet, but.
Amy's shaking her head.
Those are Amy's numbers, yes, the 6.2%.
So the 6% is what we're committed as a board. And what was that figure? Do you know, Kim?
Well, I have the estimate of 225,000.
And that's 6%?
That's, yeah, if that's what Amy calculated at 6%.
But you're asking for 8%?
Yes, we're asking for an increase.
What would that be over the 225?
I don't have the mathematical calculations in front of me.
Kim?
About 300,000, I think.
And you're saying that's needed because of
Increased
Increase.
operational costs. It's just phenomenal, the things that we've undertaken over the years, especially through security alone. Just taking care of having security on site as well as these video cameras, et cetera. So.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Next would be the Harrison County Economic Development.
Mayor and council, thank you. Thank you for your repeated support throughout the years. And again, this year, hopefully, we're asking for the same amount as last year. I won't go into the whole detail of who we are and what we do. I'd rather just give you kind of an update and how we're still moving forward. Some of the biggest things that we've been able to do over the past year, or the three things that we're really focusing on, are RFIs, which are requests for information, marketing, that's large and local, and community efforts. So I can explain a little bit of those. The RFIs either come directly to us, requests for information, they come through phone calls, through leads, developers, or through the state of West Virginia. One of our biggest partners is the West Virginia Development Office, which is now Economic Development. And they have really been pushing as far as pushing West Virginia. Started through COVID, all the way through COVID, out of COVID, and still today. I hate to say that our phone has not stopped ringing, but the inquiries have really not stopped since before COVID. Companies looking to either relocate, looking to expand, looking for rural areas that they want to locate, and West Virginia is prime. We finally not necessarily made it on the map, but we are not only on the map, but we are able to offer pretty much everything that any of the other places that they are coming from can offer. So in doing so, and the West Virginia Development Office paying for some of these leads, we, as the LED for the counties, have the trickle-down effect. So they will come into the city or the state looking for a 20,000 square foot building, 50,000 square foot building, office space, whatever it is their request, and then those will be shifted down through the communities. As a lead, we end up getting those, and we try to respond to those immediately. We try not to respond to or leave any of those unanswered. Some of those are within 24 hours. Sometimes we have a couple days. Sometimes we'll have almost a week to reply. But we want to make sure that we have replied to every single one. Clarksburg has actually been very successful in that. We've got on one side it's seen as a negative, empty buildings, but on the other side, when these RFPs are coming in or RFIs are coming in, we have inventory. Inventory is great. We need the vacant land, we need the office buildings, we need the space to reply to all of those. If we don't have it, we reach out to our neighboring counties to make sure that we want it to land here. If it's not in Maryland, not in Pennsylvania, we want it in West Virginia. It may not be in Harrison County, but we do want it to land here. Some of those that have flipped that we are marketing, we've got the Chase Building, Keeley Building is sold, Golf Building, Gore Building. Those are some of the ones that have not only sold, but we're working with other developers and other prospects to now land and develop within those buildings. For the marketing part of it, when I say large and small, large is really getting out what we have, finding what all of our assets are, what our initiatives for this area, putting it together in a package and marketing it that to the larger, the outside of the state, the bigger companies, even globally with Japan, Germany, other countries that we've been to, marketing to some of these companies to locate here. Marketing locally means marketing to the existing developers that are already here, the existing business owners. They're right here in Clarksburg. They're right here in Harrison County. The idea that they may have that they want to locate in their downtown or a office space that's here, anything that we can do to help them. We may not need to market globally for that, but internally, that's the local marketing that we're doing. Again, it takes finding out exactly what we have, what to market, and then what incentives that we can offer. And that includes being really creative too. A lot of funding available right now, and it's either corporation going after it, municipalities going after it. A lot of it does not happen from the private developer, but if we can get creative and we can work out incentives that we can offer them, then the end result is a field building, a business that's located here. Community efforts we've been working on. In doing this marketing and putting together a package, we had to look at taking a positive approach. I know the state of West Virginia has been doing this. We know we have negatives. We know we have downfalls, but the way that we're approaching those are how we're responding to those. Everybody has a drug issue. We realize that. How are we working towards that? Everybody has a vacancy issue. How are we working towards that? Everybody has a healthcare issue. You have a workforce issue. But we are able to come back and say, these are some of the things that we are working on in economic development to combat some of those issues. Then take the positive package, and that's what we're marketing. A lot of positives here. A lot of positives to market. And we've been successful, which is nice. And I do have a full list of some of those. We were able to go after the LED grant for 8 years in a row. We were awarded the resolution as the lead economic development organization in the county again this year. We applied for a $500,000 brownfields grant, and we have 5 priority projects that came out of that. 4 of those do fall within Clarksburg city limits. We now have the expansion at the airport. We have 100 flat acres. We have Aurora, which is now Boeing, in 6 buildings at our airport. $1 billion plus economic impact, and that's just at one industry. The other industries include our workforce. They include healthcare. They include our education, things that we know we've had for a long time, but it's really tweaking them, working with them, growing those, and then marketing those. So I won't go through the 4 pages that I submitted, but that's mainly the highlights over the past year.
May I say something? Hi, Amy.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
As far as I can remember and can calculate, the city of Clarksburg's put in about $250,000, $225,000 for, I think, the last 9 years. I think that comes out to about a couple $100,000. Any way you can push something our way over the hill here?
I
Big.
absolutely
I mean,
can.
you know, I mean, development wise, I mean, we could use it. And, you know, we've been staunch members since day one.
Sure. Yeah, we incorporated in 2015, and we didn't start taking membership until 16. So, but you've been at one of our, well, top 3 as far as funders of the corporation. A lot of focus is done in Clarksburg. We've had 3 leads as far as hotels that are here. And it did take a few years. It took a few years to kind of find out exactly what we're marketing and what we're pushing. But I think we have some positives over the next 2 years coming. And kudos to John. John Whitmore has been a good asset too. He's been a good partner. I know he is the representative on the board. But we need to have vacant land. We need to market the land. We need to work closer with you all to be able to work with some of the prospects. And we do have them. Surprisingly, there are a lot of prospects that are landing in this area. They're focused in the area, but we need more to land. We don't want to just be skimmed over and use us as a place to get their comps and then land somewhere else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you tell us those 3 sites, those brownfield sites, where are they in Clarksburg?
There are 4 sites.
In Clarksburg?
Yeah, 4 sites, right, John? Do we switch those to?
Yeah, no, it was 4 initially. Then we scaled it back to 3 as the one is the Superfund site. So we're looking at Parsons Hotel, Parsons. I'm not complying. I'm sorry.
The Waldemar.
Yeah, Waldemar, and then there's an additional yellow brick building, yellow block building in Glenelg that it also is expected to have lead-based paint asbestos that qualifies.
Oh, the empty building, the big building. Okay. And this assessment grant, what will it do? I mean, what's the purpose?
It's a $500,000 planning assessment grant. So what they'll do is they'll take a full assessment. So when we sit down and look at priority sites that we see, Spelter site is one of them. A site that we want to see developed, whether it's a marketing package, additional phase 1, a phase 2, anything for rehab. Some of these definitely need rehab. Some of them do not. They just need marketed. Those are the ones that we chose, but we're not environmentalists. So this plan will hire a consultant to come in and evaluate the whole county, look at our priority sites, look for a plan for each of those priority sites. If any of those need follow-up, if they need rehabilitation, if they need a phase 1, a phase 2, if they're ready for that, they need a marketing plan, and then find other sites. There may be plenty more sites. We go after another grant.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Kim, what exactly is that item on the?
Yeah, I don't see it either,
Looking at
Kim.
theirs.
I was looking for it. I can't find it either. It's in there.
It's
It's not on that back
It's not in
side with the rest.
contribution section.
Is there a reason it's not in the contribution site?
It's just the way it is under the chart of accounts.
What we're asking, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have to list it in the budget. We put the 25,000 in there.
It's in 402.
Thank you. It's under economic development.
Oh, it's always that easy. Isn't it?
What page is that?
It's in line on 402.
It's
402.
page 10, right in the middle of page 10. Under the facade grant.
425680000.
Ah. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Amy, I had a question. When you talk about incentives from these RFIs and leads that are coming in, what do those incentives look like? And what's the process to, executing on those incentives? Because you have to work with, I guess, many municipalities to try to craft some of those incentives.
Sure. If there's, I guess in a perfect world, you'd be able to list on our website or offer a package to say this is what we offer. If this is your business, you get $5,000 for this. If this is your business, then no tax for this. We don't have that. Very, very rare in West Virginia. I think it's rare a lot of places, especially in communities. So we do have to be creative. And it's finding out exactly what business do they have. The state does have a list of standards that we will bring the state in. Sometimes it's just resources. So let's say that there would be a small business that wants to locate in downtown Clarksburg. We would meet with them to discuss exactly what are your needs, what are you looking for. It may not be funding. It might be resources. It may be a marketing package. It may be legal issues that they have, or something along the lines of accounting, anything else, partnering, a location. They can't find a place. We've got a great concept. We've got the money. We have no idea where we're going to be. If it's a larger company, manufacturing going in, then we can be a little bit more creative. We can look at tax breaks. We can look at new market tax breaks. Clarksburg falls within an opportunity zone. We now know that you don't have to be within the opportunity zone to capitalize on those. We can now make amendments to that zone to allow them, if they're adjacent to bring them in. Historic tax credits. It may be the Alliance loan funding that they need. It might be a low interest loan that they need. They may not be able to qualify through a bank. We have other lending agencies that would qualify for them, the state authority.
So when you talk about, because we've been talking about opportunity zones, what, Jerry, 2 years now? And so when you talk about opportunity zones, has there ever been any kind of leads to that would fall under that here in Clarksburg, that any prospects that you have seen over the last couple of years?
I'm going to say 6. We've
6,
met with
okay.
about 6.
That's good. That's positive.
There are a couple ones that went forward without it, that chose not to.
Okay.
And then there are a few outside developers, one being outside the state, really would have benefited, just chose not to locate here.
Okay.
Is there any feedback based on what we can do different as a city on some of those leads that may not come to fruition here? Is there anything that you ever could give us back to us, like that we can change using home rule or something?
A seat at the table. It does take a very committed team, seat at the table. And I think that's one of the assets that we've been able to push for the state of West Virginia. We're competing with New York. We're competing with some major players, and they're bringing in legal attorneys, a full-on team. We don't have that. But what we do have, committed team to seat at the table as far as resources. So with one call, we can have the governor's office there. We've got Senator Capito herself that's attending our board meeting next week. Manchin's office. Those are things that it's not readily available to some of these places, and coming in, they're thinking that's a huge asset. We've been on the waiting list for months to be able to get in front of our senators or our representatives, and you're actually going to have them at a sit-down meeting. That means a lot. But it does mean from local all the way to federal, depending on that end user or that prospect or what they need, really having the right people at the table repeatedly. So we didn't just call them in to say, hey, we've got a favor. It's truly having them dial in and sit down, and this company we want here, this is why we want them here, this is what we need from you to help us land them here. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah.
I was trying to.
I mean, I kind of knew that probably the answer, but
And it's difficult. It's a struggle, but it's persistence.
Just a general question about your operation, just because I don't know. If you don't know, I'm a real estate agent. How do you work with the real estate community? Because I've listed and sold tons and tons of commercial properties, and I've never dealt with you guys, which kind of seems weird to me.
Some realtors do want to be able to work with us, and others, it's just we find what's available. The ones that do work with us,
You're basically just watching the MLS. You're not directly
we're
working with
watching
any agents.
everything. What we've done, what's worked best for us, is going to the communities, going to each of the communities who have either a John Whitmore or they have someone that's responsible for the sites, or going to the mayor or going to the city council themselves and finding what property do you have, what inventory do you have, what are your needs here, what do you want to locate here, and it's a little mixture of everything. So if you're really trying to market a hotel, that's great, that's your need, but what do you have? What places do you have? Do you have spaces? Do you have buildings that are available that would, if we're going to market to a prospect for a hotel, what am I going to be able to tell them? We don't get anything from it. So that's a little difficult too, but we will market. We will work with them. We will work with, let's say, Black Diamond Realty as an example. They do a lot of commercial. We don't do retail, but for commercial development, it really helps them to have their property on our website. So when the state of West Virginia, and we're linked to them, they're getting leads and hits, those automatically trickle down to Harrison County. Or they'll get a call, and sometimes they really do not want to deal with the local developer. I'm not sure what the reasons are, but they'll deal with the state or they'll deal with ED, mainly finding out what resources do we have or what incentives do we have first before I start looking for a building. Do I even want to be here first before I find out what your inventory is? So if they're coming to our office, they're getting answers to everything first. What are your demographics? How badly do you need a hotel here? What's your population? What are your events? Would it be successful? Before they even look for property.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you,
Thank
Amy.
you.
Appreciate it.
History Museum.
Hello, I'm Marcia Villianco. I think most of you know me. I'm with the Clarksburg History Museum. As you know, because I've been here before, we are trying to get tourism started through different historical projects. The very first one that we are working on right now are the first 16 markers. Jerry's also implementing this with us, and he's got some other, if you look, I've got one of our markers that's in the process of being developed now, and he's got several other ones. They're getting ready to go to print. We also have Quality Machine that is making the actual framework for it, so we're trying to keep everything local so the money stays right here. As you can see, there's a second round of historical markers, and of course, there's a third round of historical markers. And Jimmy, like you asked, the first round went through 4 different meetings and changed 4 different times. So this is sort of just the start of a list for the second round and the third round.
Well, we have a historical marker down there.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're doing more of it, more information on it than just, the marker. Also, we're looking at doing, once we get the historical markers up and once we get Stonewall Jackson's birthplace open, we're planning on doing tours, Clarksburg tours and Stonewall and Civil War tours. You can see there's a little bit, we need a bus, which we are dealing with the senior citizens on that, possibly Centra. People in our organization are going to provide the tours. We were trying to do 2 a month to start out with to see how well it works. The next thing down is the interstate markers. They are $2,000 a piece, but I just got markers put up on Route 50 that all it says is museum, and it takes you off of Chestnut Street. They gave us markers to get almost all the way down to the museum. We had some other markers made. In the last 2 weeks, because I'm there every day, I asked people when they walked through the door, how'd you get here? Well, I saw the museum sign and I pulled off. So I know they work. The interstate would be tremendous, but you can see they're a little bit heftier of a cost. I would like to see all 3 of these markers up because right now there's 2 markers that are attached to a lodging sign. We need a separate sign that says attractions with 6 different attractions on it, or at least more than 1. And the attraction signs right now have Robert C. Byrd Aeronautical Institute or something on them. They're not actual things like the Splash Zone or coming to the History Museum or looking at Stonewall Jackson things here, which will bring people into town, that will make them spend money and that type of stuff. Right now, I'm in the process of developing the birthplace. The wall for the birthplace would have been put in Friday, except the Career Center is making it. It's made. The principal was out of town and he wants to come and put it up too. So we're looking for this week. And the Career Center also has said they would do the electricity. So within the next couple weeks, the Stonewall Jackson birthplace should be up and going, and we can start on our bigger ideas of the 3-day tours that we're working with Lewis County and Randolph County They're just waiting for us to get our stuff together before we can actually start this tour system going. There are already tour buses going to Lewis County and Randolph County. So I called them, asked them if we could all get together. We did it. We're working towards doing this. They're waiting for us to get enough things to make it worthwhile to come to Clarksburg to visit Stonewall Jackson, and our tour is the Stonewall Jackson Civil War Tour. We also have Civil War markers that are in this county. So all of these things go together with making tourism start to be something in Clarksburg. You can see I've asked for $31,280, which is, I guess, a dream wish for me or us. And the actual amount we're asking for, we did ask for $3,500 for exhibits and supplies. I would like to see if we could get the $1,000 to go towards the electric and the materials that are needed for that. 2 of the signs on the interstate and the rack cards. There's a page in there that shows you what our rack cards are. Anybody that gets off at the rest stop, you've all been there. You look at the cards and you pull them out. And if you're interested, you get off and you go visit them. And then to pay for the actual tours that we're getting ready to start. We're really pushing forward, trying to get tourism started in Clarksburg, in Harrison County. Anybody have any questions?
So the number here I see is 3,500, but the actual.
That's what we
I
initially
That was
asked
the
for.
original request.
That was
The original request,
Okay.
yes.
You're not wanting to change it to the 31,000, are you?
Oh, I'd like it. It would be wonderful. But somewhere down the line, because really the difference is the second round of markers and the third round of markers. And at some point, you're going to give it to us, or the county's going to give it to us. Once we get them up and you start seeing some people coming to town, spending some money, I don't think it'll be that hard to get those.
So realistic, the number you'd like to see is 35 or the
Is the
8,000?
The 16,780.
16,780.
Look down at the bottom of the page, in bold print.
Oh, okay.
The bold print, Jim, the
Okay.
bold print.
It should stick. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, we'd really like to have the 31,000. But I'm asking.
The signs on the interstate are where it says attractions.
Yes.
The state road doesn't handle that aspect of it. You have to actually pay for it. I mean, I never knew. I didn't know exactly how that
Yes,
worked.
you have to, it's $2,000 for each sign.
Is that
This-
a one-time cost or?
It's for 3 years, years.
The first time.
First time, it's $2,000 to make the sign.
Can't we just make those go out there and stick them on?
No. There's 30-some pages of specifications on how to get a sign on that attraction
That's
sign.
crazy.
See, I thought.
And
I'm sorry. I was under the impression the state provided those.
Well, they do.
I'm sure they cost
They
money.
do for a cost of $2,000.
I mean, I didn't expect it to be that much, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a 3-year. That's a 3-year cost.
Wow.
And then after that, the next 3 years is $1,800. And then, like the splash zone, since it isn't open all year, they put a closed or seasonal sign over that, and that's $200 more.
Really?
But those are attractions to bring people into town. So, I mean, it's really, it's $1,800 for 3 years. But, they bring people in.
Yeah. I recently saw the one on 50 and I double take. I was like, wow, they got some signs up there. It's only that's there. But I saw it and I definitely did see it.
So when will we see those first round of markers up, Marcia?
Jerry's working on the layouts of them. I'm sure he could send the first 4 or 5 over to Clarksburg Blueprint. He can have them done in a matter of days. The quality machine, not Jerry, I'm talking about Clarksburg Blueprint. Once Jerry, Mike and I did the writing, found the pictures. Jerry said, because Jerry's part of our organization and doing this. And he said, because I'm the computer person at our place and I absolutely have no idea how to do anything. And Jerry said he would do this. So how many of you have done? It could probably go to him.
4.
4.
But the rest of them won't take long because I got the first one started.
Right. And
Will was
then,
supposed to help me, but he's backed out. I don't know why.
Come on, man. You know?
come on, Will, help us out.
And then you got
Quality Machine told me that within 2 days they could have this made. So I took them out the template last week that Clarksburg Blueprint had to make for them to, and they told me, just when you get the signs, bring them out, we'll have it done. So, I mean, it's an easy turnaround, definitely within a month, as long as Jerry gets the signs done.
And then do you guys put them up, or how will that happen?
No, the city of Clarksburg, we're hoping, is going to put them up. And I talked to John Workman, I talked to Steve, and we're trying to do it before grass mowing season starts.
So, yeah. Okay.
And I have a form to go around and ask, they're not being installed on anybody's personal property, but I don't want us going out there and planting a sign in front of Truist Bank and they're thinking, what are they doing out there? And, I'm going around and talk to the 16 people, and everybody that I've talked to so far is like, we're getting a sign? And I said, yeah. And they're all excited. One of them is sitting here. We went out and looked around where we thought we should put it for the Gore Hotel. So, everybody's happy and interested and waiting for their sign.
Sounds good.
And as soon as we get the historical ones done, the birthplace will be done, I think, before that, because I'm on the final step of just getting the career center in there. We have furniture. It would be nice if we had some items that were actually from Stonewall Jackson's home. And I know they're out there. They're out there somewhere. And it would be nice to have them in the actual location. And that's going to be done with, the career center. Tomorrow I go out to try to get them a bus, to get the kids on the bus. I got to get a trailer to bring the wall in. But hopefully within it was supposed to have been Friday, but like I said, the principal wants to be in on it and he wasn't there. So I know that's going to happen.
Have you called him a bunch like you called me?
Yeah,
All right.
just like everybody else that I call until you answer me or I have to come and knock on your door. Any other question?
Have one question, Marcia. The interstate signs, so it's just one sign, because, you have northbound and southbound.
It's on both sides.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I need to know. So just didn't want it to be on northbound and then.
Right.
not
No, they're
southbound.
on both. They're on
Okay.
both sides. They're on both sides. And they also
It's 2,000.
provide you the sign after you get off as to how many, the directions this way, and it's 2-point-something miles, something like
okay.
that. But right now, we need an attraction sign, not an attraction sign attached to lodging and you're the last thing at the bottom and you've already drove by before you can even see it. So we need, that's why I have 3 things wrote down, because they have to put another attraction sign up. There's no more room to just add 1 or 2 more items. And that's important to have that.
It is.
Any more questions? Thank you, Marcia.
Historical Society.
Hi, I'm Lori Hostetler. I'm the secretary for the Harrison County Historical Society. We requested $6,500 for this upcoming fiscal year, basically to help us offset our operating costs. While we are a county-wide organization, we do have a presence in Clarksburg, both at our office in the Board of Education building, as well as the Staley Goff Vance House just down the road here. And so what the funding would help us accomplish, one would be to continue to stabilize the Vance House. We've been working with the Preservation Alliance of West Virginia to do a windows rehab project on the house. And while that will be a collaborative project that's partially funded, there will be some costs there. I don't have specific figures for that. We're also hoping to highlight the Vance House as well as our exhibition space in the Board of Education building as part of the proposed tours that the Clarksburg History Museum is proposing, which we think will be a great opportunity to highlight Clarksburg and bring in tourists. We have some grant funding dedicated to improving our exhibitions in the Board of Education building, but we'd like to prepare something special at the Vance House. The Vance House is a wonderful asset to the county and to the city of Clarksburg. It's an amazing old structure, but it has amazing old structure problems too. And so we know that there's long-term work to do there. And we are committed to maintaining the building and so we have to keep, even though we're not using it currently, we have to keep the utilities on, and those get quite expensive. We also are looking at new security system for the Vance House. We haven't had any break-ins lately, but we do have evidence. I was just there yesterday in the back lot of, folks camping out back there. So we want to look into a new security system, which will be partially donor funded, but some of this funding could help us afford that. The other thing that we have been really focused on since the pandemic is trying to catalog our collection and make it available online. So if you go on our website, you can click on a link and do a search for photographs and different documents, and that's an ongoing project for us. But we lost our AmeriCorps service member, so we could use funds to help hire people in the short term to work on those cataloging projects. So that's what the $6,500 would go towards. We've also made a similar ask to the Harrison County Commission. And I think that was everything that I wanted to cover. Do you all have questions?
Any questions down this way, Jerry?
What the other cities in the county are they giving money to?
We've made asks in the past of Bridgeport and Shinston, but this year our treasurer is in Florida vacationing, so we haven't been as organized on that front for this year, but we certainly have reached out to the smaller communities.
So you're asking them this year too?
Yeah, we'll make sure to, at least Bridgeport and Shinston. I think some of the smaller localities, I don't know that it's possible for them.
So you don't have any estimates on the Vance House?
I don't
or
have
any timeline or anything. Any update? I mean, I've never even been in there. I'd like to. I mean, I do see it as an asset to our city.
Yeah.
So I see that as a reasonable request when it comes from asking the money from us.
Sure.
We would love to see that building open.
And I hope that as we move forward, we can develop a more specific. I think there's definitely phases of work that need to happen on the structure, and I think that we would be eligible for grant funding for part of that. We've been pretty successful with state grants to rehab the front steps and some of other problems with the structure, which then, as a result of those grants, now we're required to meet those covenants, which is a good thing, but keeps the integrity of the building, but it does make everything cost a little bit more. But I do hope that we can, maybe the next time that I'm here, present a more specific request for funds. But, just as an example, our gas bill was like almost $400 this month. So we're just kind of trying to maintain. COVID was hard for us, but I think that especially with everything that the History Museum's doing as well, that we're not giving up, and we're want to position ourselves to be a part of the revitalization that I think. I'm a lifelong Clarksburg resident, and I say all the time, there's still a lot of good people that live in Clarksburg, and we need to remember that, and I want us to be a part of it.
What was the long-term goals for that building from the beginning, or from?
Well, we've
obviously keeping it still alive.
Keeping it going. I think we'd like to see it as a multi-use space, not just a museum, but a space that people could use for events or meetings. There's a beautiful backyard once we clean up the clothes that are back there right now, and make it sort of a mix of a house museum, but also as a functional event space. We have a lot of stabilization to do with our stairwell in there and the upper floors, but the main floor right now can be accessed without any issues. And I'm hoping that we can plan for at least a cleanup day this spring, which is often just kind of coming in and dusting, and it gives people a chance to see the building as well.
Well, I'm sure he'll help out, right? And, obviously, we can get some community organizations.
We've had a good in the past.
I also want to see inside.
Yeah.
Jerry, can I say something? Yeah. The thing about the Vance House is something needs done, we can't call Wayne and his friend to come fix it.
Oh, I know, because
I
it's,
mean,
yeah,
we've got to jump through so many hoops. A lot of
at least the
times,
backyard we can help out with.
we can't even find workers within the state that can actually come in because they have to be certified restorations. And what would cost you $500 at the house costs us $5,000.
So I
Yeah,
think
one
that-
suggestion, if you guys have any specific programs or anything in the outside of the building, I don't know how it would work, putting things in different categories here though, but we do have a facade grant too.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
I think that's, especially if we want to do some signage or something like that, just to make it a little more obvious what it is.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just another funding source that you can
Yeah,
get through
we
the city.
definitely need to pursue that. I think that's a good idea.
If I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 years ago, Jim, didn't we take care of the steps?
We
I
did.
know the city,
Mhm.
we
There
gave
was-
you guys money.
I don't know if we funded the whole thing, but
I
we
don't-
definitely gave money to
Yeah,
that.
I think you guys
recall that too.
definitely contributed to that. That's an example of one of those costs that would be relatively inexpensive if we could use local labor, but we had to get an expert. I'm a historian, and I do believe that that's important to make our spaces authentic, and I think that's something that tourists expect to see, but it does cost more. And we definitely appreciate all of the contributions that the city has given over the years. But yeah, that the steps were crumbling, and we had to find stones that matched what the original steps were made of.
Why don't you guys move your offices down there?
We had our offices down there, but it's not a stable environment for historical materials. And we have a lot of papers and records, photographs, maps, books, and we moved to the Board of Education building because the environment there is a more stable environment for protecting those kinds of materials. And it was harder without a whole revamp of the environmental control systems at the Vance House to be able to maintain the temperatures and humidity that are required. But I think a goal one day would be to get back there. It's nice to have the space at the Board of Education office too. There's a good crowd, and it's nice to be next door to the History Museum.
With that, would the windows be enough to stabilize that, or are you going to participate with the History Museum when they do the tours? Will they be able to physically go into that?
That's our plan. So we're hoping that to be a part of that, and since we can't take people upstairs, to have some kind of a display downstairs to provide more information about the home and the families that live there.
And that's part of the 6,500. That would be enough to get that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think we could take you in there right now and be parts of the tours. It just won't be as rich if we don't do some extra interpretation.
Now at the Board of Education, are you open? Can people come in there and tour and see things at the board?
We're basically by appointment right now. We're kind of challenged. When we lost our AmeriCorps, we lost the person that was going to be there on a daily basis to be able. So we're basically just by appointment. We're hoping when our treasurer comes back in May that she's been the other person who's had a consistent presence there. And our long-term goal is to be able to have a full-time staff member there. But we've been successful with AmeriCorps in the past, just didn't work out this particular time.
Is there information posted on the board building to call for, or where do they get that information, the number to call to set up an appointment to come and see?
I believe that there's information on our door and then also on our website if folks, find us that way.
And they could do a tour then?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're limited in our availability, but yeah, we would definitely. I have someone I've been talking to like in the last week that I'm going to take on a tour. So, yeah, I mean, we're committed to getting people in there, and hopefully we can make that more in the future. There's some great exhibits in there.
You guys have anything from Stonewall Jackson's original?
I would have to check the collections to see what we have.
I just heard Marcia speak about that. That would be a great collaborative effort.
Right, we'll have
on
to
the
see what
Historical
we can.
Society with the history museum and
Yeah.
to put something original. And I would assume you would have some artifacts.
I think there's some limited materials. I'm not as familiar with all of this stuff, but I do believe there's some limited Stonewall stuff.
Did you like the idea that they're going to do that on Main Street at his
Yeah, I
birthplace?
think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any other discussion? We're good? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That concludes all the agencies that are going to be doing some presenting. You want to go over the individual contributions that's already on your budget?
No, say that.
All the agencies that requested funding, we funded at the level that you see on your budget on page 42 and 43. Do you want to go over those line by line, or?
I don't think that's necessary. I mean,
We
it says
could-
what it says. I mean,
Did anybody want to say anything about?
Yeah, I do. I think we ought to pull the cemetery preservation until they get a reliable individual.
I don't know what the thoughts on that.
I mean, I see what he's thinking, but I remember what that cemetery looked like before, and I hate to just cut funding to that. I mean, I understand his son upset a lot of people, but
Well, I mean, if he's not able to do it,
is he not going to be?
I'm sorry?
Is he not going to be able to do it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We pull it until we find out, what happens with his situation.
Could we leave it in there, but not actually
Yeah,
give
I mean,
it to until we have a further
It
update
goes out
on that?
quarterly anyways, though, right?
This
So
is until July anyway.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
at that point, it comes
We're not
out
talking about
quarterly,
giving
and
them
then
a
we
check
can
tomorrow. I mean,
revision if we had to
this
pull
is
it back.
July.
That's July. Okay, yeah. So
We did increase it from 3 to 5.
Yeah, he did request the increase to 5,000 this year.
I mean, I think that'd be a good question to see if he's still going to be
We'll know by then.
doing that.
What's that, Steve?
I said, we'll know by July. This is obviously, again, this is for next year's budget, fiscal year, so.
Kim, when do you start sending the checks to that organization?
Usually they know, we send them a letter out before the fiscal year starts, so they know we can start anytime after July. And then we ask them to send us a request. So we can,
do they have to provide you a budget, or they just request 5,000? They don't have to provide you any kind of documentation that they've spent that 5,000 on.
they don't know, but we ask for their budget every year, so we do have a copy of that in their request from the previous year.
So we're not even sure if we send them 5,000 that they're spending that 5,000 on that cemetery.
Only when we look in their budget the following year.
I would say we're not guaranteed that at all because his nonprofit has other cemeteries too.
Is that, yeah, so are we getting it at that one? It seems like we should have more clarified documentation that is being spent.
It's a lot of money for gas and
Yeah, for
string and weed eaters.
We get
Let me ask a question here. Why couldn't we work with the county on these guys that are on? They have to do public service. Why couldn't we work with the county and have them do that as one of their projects?
Well, we don't own those cemeteries, so, right? We don't own
No.
that property, so it's not really.
It wouldn't be us doing that, Jimmy, is what he's saying.
Right, but I'm saying, wouldn't that
Couldn't
be a
they do it?
suggestion to the county that? Yeah, I mean, I know it's not ours.
I think that would be their responsibility to go to the county to get that kind of help instead of us.
Okay.
And I think they do the same thing with the county. They just request a round number like they're doing with us.
Is that how?
I'm pretty sure just from watching their budget sessions too.
Well, I know that they take care of the Oddfellow Cemetery in the town of Salem, and I'm up there quite often, and they do a pretty good job taking care of it. So, and I think they do a great job over here in Chestnut Street too. But
It was a mess before he really
I
started. so-
don't disagree there.
He's done a lot of stuff
Yeah.
there too. I mean, he's replaced fences. And
Yeah. No, he has done good stuff. So.
But I mean, the $2,000 increase, I don't really support that. I mean, I think we should kind of,
2,500.
unless he at some point wants to come back in here and tell us why he wants an increase.
Does anybody know what they get from the county?
But I hate to take it, I don't want to zero it out though. I mean, that's just my opinion. Because I remember what it looked like before.
Well, it looks like they've only spent, how do you get this number of $3,000 for this year?
That's what we've spent so far. That's what we've given them so far. They've had 3 quarterly payments,
Okay,
1,000 a quarter.
so they'll get one more check from us to go up to the 4,000 then.
Right.
Okay.
4,000 is what we gave them last year.
So you're doing it quarterly with them? You're not just giving them a lump sum in
Right.
July?
Right.
Okay.
That's how it works with everybody though, right?
I'm sorry.
That's how it works with everybody. Everybody gets quarterly checks.
Yeah, except for housing authorities, only $400, so we give them theirs upfront. And I think Homes for Hair, so we may have given them the 1,000 upfront also.
But the rest are sent quarterly checks?
Right.
They don't have to request it. It's already in there and you
They
automatically
do
send
actually
it out.
send us a request. They do send a request to Tracy
Every quarter?
every quarter.
Okay.
So I suggest we leave that in and discuss it further before our budget revision. And we all just kind of keep that in the back of our minds.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, I'd say that too.
Before Wayne leaves, I do want to mention something. We have never really given any of our local sports nonprofit organizations money. So I would like maybe the council to consider us funding the city, the youth sports that are in the city that are nonprofit. I'm not saying a certain amount, but we don't give them any money. It's a struggle out there. I know the football, like the Little Eagles football team, they had to buy 56 new helmets. I mean, there's just a lot of struggle out there for our youth sports.
I don't want to sound like a jerk, but can I ask why they didn't come and ask?
No, they've just never gotten the money. I guess maybe they've asked in the past and they've just never been successful and they just never even thought
Well,
about
this
it.
is,
I mean,
this is usually pretty tight, and we usually don't give a lot of money.
oh, I
like
know that, but
we've been fortunate because the ARPA money and so forth, but normally you're penny pinching and you're not just throwing money anywhere on these things, and so
this
that's.
isn't throwing money, it's the kids, the youth, and
I understand. I'm not okay. I might use the wrong term. You're not just giving a bunch of money out. This is when the budgets are tight and you don't have the ARPA money. Then this is the part where you don't give too much to these nonprofits. But
Is there going to be other discussion on this section here, this subsection?
On the agency request?
Yeah,
No, sir.
okay.
If you guys are comfortable with, you all got copies of the request packet. Obviously, you can see we funded everything at the level that they requested. So if there's no more discussion, we can move on.
I think we still need to finalize the library back pay thing. I mean,
We weren't able to
Mr.
contact.
Foley didn't really want to talk about that as part of the same conversation, but
We weren't able to contact the auditor's office to get the final number, but we know it's gonna be something less than that 123 that you saw there.
yeah, it's just, what was the
It
original?
was 297.
Yeah, I thought it was a
Yeah.
big number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that number is not
So
nearly.
that's why we suggested, okay, let's just pay it, because one of the 2 or 3 options was to pay it in different incremental
Yeah.
payments over time, either 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. This would kind of be, we just put it to rest. It's done.
300 is different than 120. Yeah.
This is much more doable. It was
Yeah.
actually one of the options that gave us the payment plan of about 100,000, a little over 100,000 over per year.
I say we
for 3
pay it
years.
and be done with it.
I agree.
I mean, that's mine, but let these guys, whatever they say.
Well, I think I kind of supported that last year, even with the amount being higher. And I know there was some opposition to that, and that's kind of what kept me from actually placing it on the agenda. I'd hate to get everybody's hopes up to have it shot down up here. So, and I think we should move forward and place it on the agenda to use the
If
art
you're
money for
comfortable
that.
with- Yeah, if you're comfortable with those agency requests, and like I said, that back page, what you see in the budget is presented is balanced. Those are funded at this level that they requested.
What about going back and trying to get the 8% that they requested over the 225? Is that something that we can make work?
We can certainly look at that. Remember, anything that we do now is going to be something that's going to have to be sustainable.
I understand.
So, we can obviously, we have some ARPA money sitting there, we can increase it now, but is it gonna be sustainable?
And I understand that, and there's going to be some points that we're going to talk about, I'm sure, as this night goes on, especially with the summary of changes information document that I'm looking over now. I think we can find that money. So
I think with us giving that 125,000 at one lump sum should ease that somewhat, that maybe we don't have to do the 8 this year, just do what was in the budget original
I agree,
request. And
especially if we're giving that full amount.
yes, then we can, if that's the case, because everything's going up, I understand that, but let's give them the 125 and then keep the what we have in our budget.
Again, there's some ARPA money left over. You'll have 2024, the entire year, to make the necessary appropriations for how you want to plan on spending that. If there's some money left in there, you obviously could give them a one-time thing as well, but anything that you're going to do on the other side is going to have to be sustainable money. And you won't know what those results are going to be until after we get 2023, 2024's revenues in. We tried to prepare a budget that was, we underestimated revenues and we tried to overestimate spending to give us a little bit of a buffer. We used a pretty conservative budget. Chief Kitty kind of set us on a path, and we're following his template. So that's why we kind of left it the way it was. And of course, the thing with the History Museum, we didn't see these numbers until tonight. This is the first time we were made aware of that. We funded them fully at their request, but this was some things that Marcia came in with after the fact. So we can revisit that. This isn't, it wouldn't be anything that would be coming up in the next few months anyway. This would be starting in July. So there's always a budget revision we can fix.
Okay.
So for all these organizations to come and ask for money, what are the guidelines? Is it just a nonprofit status or what is it?
I've just continued what was always done. So, and they've always been the same nonprofits. So we've never put out any,
So if, for
advertisements.
example, if the youth sports organizations would have came and requested the money, they would have been on here, we'd have been considering it at that point.
Yeah.
We don't go out seeking requests to all these places
No,
to
but
come.
all the agencies know that this time of year is budget time, and that we're, if there's an agency out there that would want to address some funding or want an opportunity to apply for some funding, this is their time to come. And we've never solicited for it. You're right.
Well, I definitely think we should put an advertisement out on the billboard.
Yeah, that would
but,
be bad. Be a long
You know,
evening.
line out the door and down the steps.
Yeah, we have had Tony League a couple times have come to us during the year for special things, but
thought we had a big turnout last year.
Yeah.
Probably only had about a quarter of the people that were.
We had about every agency, I thought,
Yeah,
last
that
year.
seems like everybody showed up.
Are we good with the agency request? Okay, moving along. Do we have any line item specific items that you've had a chance to kind of look over the budget? I'd like to start, if you don't care, with the budget summary. Unless you want to go line by line.
I mean, I think we should move on to summary changes, and that was going to be the point I was just about to make.
Yeah, I think
In regards to the library money, asking for that additional 2% or up to 8%, I guess, above the initial 6%. I mean, I'm looking at the second bullet item, and I know this has been a contentious item that we've discussed for months. And, I'm not confident moving forward with that second bullet point of the assistant city manager, city attorney position until we have somebody that sits in that chair. There, I think we use the cart before the horse type of analogy a little too much, and I think this is a perfect example of that. I'm not totally against it, but we're budgeting for a position, we don't even have this position filled, and that kind of concerns me. And I think obviously if we don't go that route, that's $136,549 that we could free up right now.
If you look at the budget, we took the money out of the city attorney line and we zeroed it out. And then
That was what, $50,000?
it was 70 of it. 50, okay. And then, that's part of this over here. So we would do a budget revision, obviously, and putting money back into that budget for city attorney fees. And then we
I'd like to know what the benefit would be to paying $50,000 to paying $136,000
this was
for
just
an
a request
attorney.
made by one of the.
No, I understand that. I'm not asking, I mean, it's there, but I'd like to know the benefit of paying $50,000, and that could stay the same or go down, but we'd be having 136 would be in the budget, and then every year 5% on top of that or whatever our thing, and it just keeps going up where we can kind of control that somewhat depending on how much we use that. And where would we stick them? I mean, I'm getting a little bit off, but we'll have to add on to the city building if we keep hiring these people. Where are we going to put them?
We've had this conversation in depth.
Yeah, but we never had it coming at us that we're going to pay $136,000.
We had estimates.
Like I said, I'm not totally against the idea of it. I think I've told everybody up here, I'm not totally against it, but to budget the money for it right now seems kind of,
This
that's something
doesn't start till July though.
Correct.
I mean, if the position we never really go forward with the position, a revision could take it out and change it, and then really we're just putting it maybe in unbudgeted contingencies or whatever it would find a place. But right now,
vice versa, it could be when the new city manager comes on and they look at it and they feel like they need that, we could do a revision and add that. Correct?
well, we got in trouble with that when we were adding positions in the middle of the year when the last city manager was here. Remember, we were creating new positions, and then we had issues with the budget because it was not budgeted.
I mean, I think it makes more sense to go ahead and budget it. That's just my opinion. It makes more sense to go ahead and budget it. And then if we don't do it, we're in the good. Much harder than trying to add it, in my opinion. Much harder to try to add it.
So let me ask this question. If we are going to keep this full-time city attorney in the budget, I'm trying to figure out, like, what are the revenues that we're making on city court costs? Because other cities like Fairmont, they do, I guess, first offense DUIs through city court, and that seems to be a significant revenue builder, and that may be something that a full-time city attorney could possibly be kind of like
I don't think we do that.
What's that?
I don't believe we do that.
Do we not do that?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, but or are you asking, could we do
Could we do that though?
I think it would significant changes. I mean, it's possible. I don't see why it wouldn't be possible. But.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I think the city of Morgantown does that, and I know the city of Fairmont does that, and they have simple like DUIs, but where they can actually generate revenues. I don't know if our city attorney would really want to do that now. Judge Martin's pretty, I mean, he's doing.
I'm just saying, if we had a full-time city attorney, that may be something that could be a little bit more justifiable, for the position. Plus, maybe even pay it for itself. I'm just saying it's just something to explore.
I mean, it's a mistake if we look at that number just as it is. If we don't look at the plus and minuses, efficiency increase, and all those things. If we look at that number as it is and count it as that, then we're not looking at it right in the first place.
Well, there's a big roadblock in the fact that we don't have the city manager. They may come on and spend 6-8 months here and then come to the conclusion that we don't need that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying,
I understand. It's on there for a reason.
That's always going to be that person's discretion to hire that position anyway. So,
I understand.
I mean, we can't decide we want one today and go ahead and hire one. Unless Steve.
That's my point is, we're budgeting for this amount, expecting that it could happen when, I think history has shown us over the last 10 months that, I think we're still a long way from there. I mean, that's just my opinion, and your mileage may vary, but
that directly is related because they do not work for this council. The city attorney clearly works solely for the city manager, and they should be the person saying that we need to do that. But I think monetarily it really doesn't make sense. I know we're going to ask the chief if that's possible to do, if he's ever had. Wayne's question was about looking at the judge doing DUIs and different things?
Well, because if you do anything like that, you have to be able to give the person a chance for a jury trial. You gotta have a jury, you gotta seat them, it's cost extra money. And the judge can't put anyone in jail. He can't order it through city court, it can only be ordered through magistrate court. So all serious offenses like that go through magistrate court. We don't even issue citations. A lot of places will issue citations for first offense DUI and release people. We don't do that. A lot of departments don't because liability reasons. If you cite somebody for first offense DUI and turn them over to their buddy, and they walk out of the house, get in the car again, then kind of leaves us liable. So
I just asked a question because, I mean, we're on the whole full-time city attorney position, being in the budget. And I just heard there were other cities that did do that. And I thought it might have been might have been something that would, a full-time city attorney would do, just trying to justify the position.
Yeah, I don't think that the money that the revenue would be there for, just for DUIs.
Okay.
That goes through magistrate court. I think the cost of bringing juries in and the extra cost of having the city attorney show up as a prosecutor, because most DUIs are going to have a defense attorney, so
right.
You need a prosecutor, so I don't think it would be beneficial.
Okay.
Plus with the new legislation that's coming up, trying to get municipalities to pay part of the regional jail fees.
Yeah, the 5 days I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, which technically we do pay into the regional jail fees with every citation. Parts of that money goes to the regional jail, just like a citation through magistrate court. So we do pay for it. But they're going to try to get us with more money, so it relieves them of that.
So in your professional opinion, you don't think it would be a good idea to start doing that?
Not for the first offense DUIs, no.
Okay. Okay. With that, how do we do this? Because it looks like we have some that are for that. Not you now, but some are for this to be put in a budget, and some are against. How do you do that, Steve?
This isn't a huge deal. Like, I'm not willing to fight over it.
Oh, no,
it's kind of like the police thing we do every year. It's like we budget 50 or 52. We never get there. I mean, as a negotiation, I would even say, so you took off the 50,000.
We took out the 50 and put this in.
Just to be a little closer, as a negotiation type thing here, could we do 100,000 budget for legal fees? And then we just know we got 50,000 built in there. Instead of 136, just do 100. Because I mean, we may be able to hire a lawyer for 85,000 anyway, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but with your benefits on it,
this is
that's what I'm saying. But it would be a lot closer. Just in general, if you hired
because you're putting a salary of
you might be close to
1,000. I see 100,000. Yeah, I mean that's.
And I don't care what line it's on. I don't care if we put it as this position or if you put it back in that other category. I'm saying let's just put a little bit more in the budget just to kind of reserve that money.
We could do that, but it was just like the park board issue. They wanted to put 2 salaries for 10 months, and that never did. It would be kind of like this. That never did come to light.
That's great then.
Yeah, we saved that. We saved that money.
We get to the end of the year and then we're better than we thought we'd be.
Yeah.
But I think that's even if we did have to pay a guy 100,000 and we ended up at the 136 number. I'd rather be looking for where to get 36,000 than where to get 86,000.
At the end of the day, we might not use any of it. If we're all open to the idea, like we say we are, we can leave it in there in a budget revision after the first of the year, or the new city manager comes in and we can make a change.
I mean, whatever the majority wants to do.
James, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, we left the cemetery money in there till we find out what's going on. Let's just leave this in there and and see what transpires. That's all,
I'm okay with it. I mean, if that's,
you know. And then if we don't, it ends up that we don't do it, then we've got an extra 136,000.
So we can give it all to the youth sports teams.
Can we go back to, or are we gonna go over each one of these changes? Is this additional, now, in addition to the 5%, this increase in special assignment pay for police and
Yes, sir.
firefighters?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see anything for the public works or wastewater treatment plant on there.
There is nothing for public works and wastewater treatment.
Why would that be?
This was a request from one of the council members to try to offset for job retention and recruitment for both police and fire.
For fire too? Are we having an issue with the retention?
Well, I mean,
and
it's not so much with the fire department in that respect, but we don't know what impact the long term is going to have in regards to changing the pension plans. It's a little bit different. We don't have any record to reflect on what the new pension plan is going to do. Initially, at 20 years, they're not going to get 60% like the ones that are under the current plan. They're going to get 52%. So there's some changes. If they stay 40 years, like me, they get more money. But how many guys are going to stay 40 years? So there's some differences of opinion there.
Well, I just like to state on that a couple years ago, as a personnel director, never did deviate from the police and fire. But a couple years ago, we were having trouble getting police officers and retaining police officers. So that was the first time I ever deviated and just got one group and gave them more money and didn't the others. And that upset firefighters and that upset public works people and upset. This year, I can't use that same excuse that we're having trouble retaining them or we're having trouble recruiting them. So I'd like to see if we're going to do this, I'd like to see some kind of plan put together to give the public works guys a little incentive to work. And I don't know, this is a special assignment pay. They don't have that, but they have something where we could give the public works a little bit more incentive because they're working hard and doing a good job. And same way with the wastewater treatment plant. I think that it would be fair and equitable to all departments to do that if we could.
5% across the board.
We got the 5%. This is in addition to the 5%.
And the reason we started talking about this, I mean, I had Chief Kitty do a salary study, and we have fallen pretty far behind, again, with county and Bridgeport.
Well, I'd never.
It's going to affect us eventually. I mean, that's how we got there before.
I never seen the study or anything was never presented to us.
It was in your last. It was in the first budget work session.
Here's a copy there.
I mean, it's a pretty, and I didn't suggest taking the fire department out like we did the last time. Because we did that to them once already.
Right.
So I felt kind of bad about that.
Absolutely.
I wanted to go and give it to them too. But I feel like if we don't make an adjustment to the police pay, eventually we're going to be headed down the same road we were before.
Especially if there's another like boom and bust, oil and gas or anything like that where people are like, hey, I can go do this and not be a police officer anymore.
If you look at that salary study, I mean, the difference between our guys in the county is crazy now. And, Bridgeport has been just killing us on raises. They gave 2 different raises. And then this year, I think they gave their employees 5% twice, which, I mean, it's hard to keep up with that. I'm not saying we should do that, but I mean, especially our younger guys, it's really tough.
Would you be in favor?
They could be here 10 years and go over there and get more money.
We also have more than 3 departments.
Huh?
We also have more than 3 departments too. We have more than just fire department, police department, and public works. Also finance department, Robinson Grand. I mean, there's other departments.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones who are out there that risk their life. The public works guys go down, and the last person that was killed in the line of duty, Jerry, was a guy from the public works.
Nobody has said that. That's the reason we're talking about those departments only.
Oh, okay, that's why I'd like to add those other departments because they have a risk, an inherent risk in the job they do, plowing the streets and.
I get that. Nobody said that, so that's why.
I'd like to at least look at some numbers to include them with some kind of increase, so that, because I know what we'll hear is that we've done this for the police before and we're going to do it again. And I'm for it now. I want to make sure that they understand, but I'm also for the other departments that go out there every day and keep us safe.
I think it was mentioned that the public works department isn't being affected the same way the police and fire department is in this case.
In what way?
That's what I heard. That's how I interpreted it.
In respect to the salary ranges.
It's very important for us to focus on too, how hard it is to replace a police officer. It's not even like a danger thing. I'm not saying we should give them more money because it's a dangerous job. I'm saying if one of these guys that's been here 10, 12 years leaves and goes to Bridgeport, for us to replace that guy, and that, such a pain in the butt. I mean, it's not like, we put out, no offense to the other departments, but if we put out a public works job, we probably get 20, 30 applications for it, and we could hire every one of them.
And from how it was explained to me is the differences between the city of Bridgeport and the city of Clarksburg is the city of Clarksburg public works position is much better than it is in Bridgeport. Now, I don't have anything to back that up. That's what how it was explained to me. So
They get paid more.
here in Clarksburg, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, hiring one of these police officers, not only, from the beginning, we do that physical test, you get like 20 guys, and then, they come back and do the mental evaluation, and you're down to like 10. And I mean, you end up with 3 or 4 guys to hire 3 positions usually.
I was involved in that process,
It's
and
very
yeah,
difficult.
it is.
And I mean, we've got to a point now where we're pretty good, but
I'm on, maybe I need to clarify, I'm all in favor of this special assignment pay for the police and the fire department, without a question. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is I'd like to look at possibly doing something for the public works and for the wastewater treatment plant, because I feel their jobs are pretty important too. But I'm not diminishing. I was involved in the hiring process. I saw when we came on board, the public safety was our number one issue. I agree 1,000%. And
I fear that happening again because it can happen so fast.
And believe me, I don't want that to happen, because that was a bad situation, and not just the recruitment, it was the retention was a big issue. We didn't have any senior lieutenants and sergeants, so that was a terrible position. I would never want to get in there. So that's off the table with me. I'm for that.
Is it? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I know you just stepped into it.
Yeah, it is.
I think you got I'm sorry, I'm taking care of something else. The pay scales of Bridgeport and Sheriff's Department. If you look at the pay scales of Bridgeport, which the one you have, they recently got another 4% on top of that. So you gotta have 4% on that.
Guys are killing us.
But we had to add into ours. If you look at the pay scale, their pay scale for police, fire, public works, sewer departments and stuff, if you look at those compared to our pay scales, our guys are making more than theirs. For public works now.
Is it possible,
So
Steve, to get a document that maybe highlights the differences between our public works department and their public works department?
Yeah, they're on the higher end of the pay scale.
But I can get that.
Those departments where police and fire are on, they're lower than the rest of them.
Okay, that would be good to get, because I hadn't seen any of that. It's been years and years since.
I think you got the pay scales.
I don't have it, not for public works.
Why don't
The
you?
whole pay scale from Bridgeport step further. If you can give them a copy of that, they can look at it.
Oh, that I've got.
Kim, and that would be a good thing if you could have the personnel do some other class 2 cities, not just Bridgeport, but if you could do, just pick out some other class 2 cities. I don't know if Morgantown and whatever, Bluefield or whatever.
We just need to be careful because morale, doesn't matter what the department is, can take a hit across the board. We got to somehow,
I would think
public works is
5%
getting-
would make people pretty happy. I don't know. We've
Yeah.
never done 5% since I've been on this council.
No, 5% is a great, and I think they're happy with that.
I
Absolutely.
think everybody across the board is pretty ecstatic with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we haven't given 5% for years.
Can I make a suggestion? If we lower the 4,000 to 3,000, then I think we would have the money that's already appropriated in this budget to find some means to help support the other departments as well. Is that correct? That's gonna give us a buffer of about, every $1,000 that we increase this special assignment pay, you're looking at $90,000. So that puts $90,000 back that we can work with to find something to take care of the,
Just a morale issue,
Right,
something,
and I
just
certainly
something.
understand that. And if you'll look at item number, the fifth, or the number 4 bullet point, that again is another morale issue that we're gonna have to, that we've been confronted with for an issue that happened, if you don't mind me leading into that. Back in 2009, there was a change made for our employees that have to pay their 15% of their healthcare costs. That did not happen to the Public Works employees. There were 10 employees on Public Works that were allowed to get 100% of theirs paid because they said by contract they were awarded that. But there's 19 employees now that have been paying that 15% that are 9 are firefighters, 7 are police officers, 2 are park board employees, and 1 is a city hall employee that have been paying this 15%, where the Public Works employees have not. So again, here's another morale issue, that you've been making reference to.
Yeah.
Public Works got this, but the rest of the city didn't get that.
Can I ask Steve why the Public Works got theirs?
Well, sir, I don't understand, because that happened during.
They filed
I'm sorry?
The union filed.
They filed, they were threatening to file a grievance. And it was.
I was involved in that,
Okay.
and the wording on that was for at least
Yeah.
the first 10 years. It wasn't
Well,
after 10 years they got it paid.
Actually,
And they could have won that grievance.
I've got the handout if you want to see it. It states, and it says certain date and 10 years, not or, but.
And a lot of discussion on those 2 words as of late, hasn't it? And, or, may, shall.
It's amazing how the and the ors kind of come back and revisit that. But,
So I don't understand exactly. These people pay?
no, these are the people that are affected now that are paying 15%. This list you see currently.
Wait, now you've got, looks like 2 different things here. You're showing the union contract there. What's the handbook?
No, they're both in there. The city handbook is on one page 35.
So why are these the only ones? I don't understand.
I'm sorry?
I don't understand why these are the only employees.
These are the only 17 employee, or 19 employees that are currently affected that fall in that date range. To bring them.
So they
up-
changed it and then they changed it back.
No, they changed it, but the union contract, Public Works stated their union contract was worded in such a fashion that their employees weren't, that they were covered by that 100%. And they were threatening to file a grievance and take them to court, and so they kind of succumbed to the pressure. I don't think the grievance was ever filed. I don't believe the court case was ever.
Yes, it was filed,
Okay.
and we had an arbitrator and everything,
Okay.
but at that time, the assistant city manager who worked over there said, let's just let them have it and not go through, because the attorney said that they could definitely, the way it was, that they could win that.
But these are the 19 employees, had that same window of opportunity been provided, it would also be covered by the insurance
Why is it
costs.
so big a difference for some of these people?
Well, some of them you'll see are because they're currently not,
Like the 4th one down, why is
not
his-
using, they're taking the stipend. They don't even use the city's insurance. And what we proposed was worst case scenario. So should they decide now to take the city's insurance, they may not. I mean, this number could be reduced significantly. There's 6 of them that are like $12,000 apiece because they're currently receiving the $200 a month stipend for not using the city's insurance. And that's why you see that number could be reduced significantly depending on those that may or may not take the city's insurance. This is worst case
So
scenario.
the ones that are taking the stipend are the 2,400?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So this will just catch up this list of folks.
This
to-
would balance
to be-
everybody.
Balance
across
everybody
the
out, everybody
city.
100%.
right? We would.
Citywide.
This would bring the date range and everybody in the city's employment up to the same level.
So are you saying the wording that was in the employee handbook is the exact wording that was in the the union contract?
No, I'm just showing you both. You know,
Which,
the employee handbook as it reads, I don't know what the employee handbook said then. That's our current employee handbook. But there was an interpretation that those employees that by contract.
yeah, that's not the wording that they were.
That's in the 2019 contract that we currently look
And
at.
they left stuff out.
I don't know what it said back in whenever this happened.
Yeah, it said for at least the first 10 years. And that was definitely the wording, because that was the sticking point. Because they said that meant after 10 years, they got their health insurance paid for free. It said at least, and the wording was, how do you know what's going to change? Is the insurance going to go down? Why are you saying after 10 years? Because that was the definite wording. It was for at least.
Well, again, like I said, this was brought up specifically for the same reasons that the mayor brought up, trying to balance things out for all departments. It does create morale issues. It creates questions among departments. And there was, the men at the fire department and the police department look back and they see people hired during the same date range that they were hired, but they're getting 100% of their insurance paid where they're not. And
Well, that's definitely wrong. You can't have that discrepancy. I agree
So
with
that's why we
1,000%
proposed
that should be corrected. They should have not been awarded that either, because it was going to arbitration. The attorney said that they definitely could win that, but then the administration, who was here then, said, "Oh no, let's give it to them and stop the arbitration at that point." So with them getting it, I agree. These police and firefighters should get, every employee in the city.
Right, and this takes care of that. It fixes that problem. It doesn't select, like I said, there's 9.
And like you're saying, a lot of these people don't have it anyway, so
There's
so all those 12,712s
correct.
obviously are getting it from
Most of
another
them-
family member or something.
Most of them it will be a $2,266, $67 increase in their salary for the entire year. So you're looking at basically that's about equal to an additional 4%, 3 or 4% on their pay. So for those guys, it's a pretty significant bump. But and again, another avenue that goes towards retention and recruitment. Not recruitment as much, but retention. These are all guys that are that are in the
I don't know every person on this list, but a lot of the ones on here are some of the exact ones that we worry about leaving, to be quite truthful with you.
That's your 10 to 15 to 17 year employees. That's what you're looking at. The ones that are doing the job second, it's everything's second nature to them. But as the budget that you see presented, it has this built in already. Just so you know that. We also asked for a position of accounts investigator that is in here as well. And the last bullet point on the personal services was obviously the reductions that were made in both police and fire pension contributions based on this year's actuarial reports and new calculations for optional methods, which resulted in a net decrease of $312,084.
So what do we do with that money?
Well, we kind of spread it around.
I hate to see that money disappear. I would like to see that shift right to the rainy day or something.
Next bullet point under other line items, it says the line for a city attorney, and we've discussed that, was zeroed and reduced to 50,000. And I think so far your opinion is to leave it alone, and we'll see what happens in the next few months. We can always decrease that or do a budget revision for that. We did increase the facade grant by $10,000. That program from 40 to 50,000 annually. That was a very, very good program. Got a lot of good feedback from that. Increased the line item for CityNet for the IT department to $35,000. This line is now merged with the previous City Hall line from Frontier. So we did away with one and kind of blended them together. We added $20,000 to the traffic department for the electric line, for the traffic signals. That was an oversight. We missed it on the first one. Corrected the debt service for energy saving projects by increasing that line by $31,538. We moved the beautification supplies from the economic development budget to the public works budget, where there was a line in there as well. And that has been increased to 50,000.
It's actually 80
80, okay,
So we increased it,
by 50.
yeah, by 50.
put $50,000 more towards beautification.
Yeah.
For what?
Well, we're gonna spend 21,000 here just coming up real soon for flowers, and we're already over budget on it now.
John might.
John?
Yeah, so it was, initially, the presentation was 30,000 for economic development work related to beautification of the downtown, planters and things like that. Part of the streetscape design process we're going through with beautification committee. That would be in addition, like 30,000, you're looking at roughly, to visualize that, that's 30 large cylinder planters with material planted. Now, naturally, the cost would be less next year, but this would actually provide for the physical boxes or planter shells.
So the beautification is involved with the streetscape design when it comes to flowers and what do you mean by that?
Literally, like just establishing just design, the general design aesthetic. So we're going to be presenting just some general ideas with box design, having either terracotta pots or some kind of plastic pot, like the actual what it's going to look like, and then where it's going to be located downtown. But that process is going to be ongoing for months when we get into the actual sidewalk project.
I'm not against it, Lily, if you're watching. I'm not against it. I'm just asking.
We at one time, we had trees planted in the sidewalk, and that proved to be counterproductive.
Yeah.
As we all remember.
Yeah, I about went through the sidewalk into a basement on Main Street because they stick out underneath the sidewalk.
So John's been working with Public Works Director John Workman, and he does have some box designs. We're also trying to coordinate this at the same time with a proposal from First Energy to help us and assist us in regards to the actual trees themselves. And they want to do a big project with the city of Clarksburg as well. So we're hoping that'll get off the board or off the ground pretty soon. But this was part of John Workman's solution as well. These planter boxes that they could move and facilitate would be easier to if they have to move them, they can.
So they'll be planting trees in some of the planter boxes?
Yeah, depending on the size that we get, obviously they want to plant trees that are going to be sized to the area. They're not going to get too big, too large for the planter box. So there's a lot to go into that, but that's why the huge increase in this.
I mean, I definitely support it. Have like some more trees.
I think we all can agree that last year's flowers were beautiful. They really were. And
the best in 3 years.
I know that there was some concerns about getting into the high schools, but there's a lot of problems that come along with the two high school, and that's the time that they get rid of the plants. The ones that we got, and we did pay good for them, but they're guaranteed. They do the planters for us. They help arrange the planters. John found out on a few of the planters, depending on where he placed them, that they were in a more shaded area than they were sun, and the plants died. They immediately took them all back, put more shade-sensitive plants in them.
Are we bidding that out? I mean, I know that we used that place on going down Bridgeport Hill on the right.
And I believe that's-
has anybody checked prices with Freeds? Or, should that be something that's bid out? I mean, I would think
If it's over 15,000, then it should, it has to be bid out.
I don't believe it's been bid out. But
Johnny may have done that.
yeah, now he may have done it last year, but I can't tell you that.
Yeah, because if it's over 15, they would have to bid. They couldn't just go. I mean, we're all for that, right? To bid,
Oh, heck, yeah.
yeah, so
I'll
make sure that
I'll make sure
that
he does that.
happens, this time, because Jim's right on that. If it's,
What this guy does for him, he takes the planters back, he sanitizes them, puts new soil, I mean, he really, he fixes it so that if there's any potential, diseases, blights, whatever, chemicals that may be involved in them, they're flushed of that, so that, it's got a better than 50% chance of going away, and they were pretty sustainable last year.
Yeah, they did. Well, it was a nice job last year, absolutely.
oh, that was the
They were-
best,
they were
and
beautiful, yeah.
since we've been on here, that was the best.
But I'll
year.
make sure that he does have it out to bid.
Yeah, I mean, that he would have to do that. Because what'd you say it was, like
I
20,000 or
think it's
something?
close to 20 or 21,000.
So that would
Yeah.
constitute it for it to be
Yeah, I
bid.
would have assumed that he was.
He probably, John knows that,
Sharp
so
enough
I'm
to
sure he
do
did. More?
The only thing I caution with the bid is, you gotta get a bid, but it's gotta be spec'd for the bid. Because you can get lower prices.
Yeah.
So as long as they spec out, you guarantee this, you do this and that.
Absolutely,
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
good point. Yeah, because they did. I saw a couple of them were dead. They were in a less shaded place, and next I drove by again, and there were new plants
Yeah, he
in there.
took
So
them
they
back,
did do that.
Repaired them and put new plants in. John said that he never really given it any thought, but they put them in places that were, shadier, and somewhere, and he said it proved to be the plants that they picked weren't, they're kind of shade sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that, so it's true.
Okay, the next bullet item is the lump sum payment. We've discussed that. We feel that that's probably the best option to be done with that.
Well, who came up with the number 297,923? Was that them?
That was the original calculations that Kim had
Yeah.
made, but there were some things that she was able to, state auditor's office advised her that she could deduct out.
Good job.
No, I was using the tax worksheets that we use, but I did not include a 2.5% discount on taxes or 2% non-collectible on taxes, which we usually do for like our current levy and our current taxes and our excess levy. But I didn't know we could do that for the library, so the state told me that. So it
Good
made it a little
job.
less.
Yeah,
Big
that's a big
savings.
savings. That's
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
Victor's not happy, but
$174,000.
See, it was good we held off and not paid that, or would have.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Can we
I'm
get a
glad
raise?
it came to
Can we
that.
get a raise?
Maybe we should give money to the kids.
I was gonna say, maybe we should keep working on it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Let's
not.
hold off on that. Don't put that in.
I ain't gonna quit talking about it. I'm gonna bring my son to the next meeting.
the last bullet point in that one is the unbudgeted contingencies line was reduced from 351 to 116,578.
Well, that's not much, is it?
It's not. But again, let me point out that this is a budget that we want to emphasize is we underestimated revenues. We were able to, last year at this time, if you remember, we were 1.6 to $2 million. Okay, and through some very good work from Chief Kitty and Kim, we made a lot of major changes. All your city departments across the board have come in very conservative, very little escalation in their budgets, with the exception of some of the one-time things that we've talked about as far as the ARPA stuff. But by and large, most of the departments are operating with what they had last year. There was just some minor increases.
And the salt and cinders will be a lot. I better not jinx this here, huh?
So we're
Let's see.
actually
Yeah,
hoping
but we're required to get X amount of tons every year.
Yeah.
this
Right.
116,578 we hope will come in much higher than that. But this is what we're showing as far as the budget.
Charges. I was gonna get to.
Can we move on?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Debt service schedules, did you all get a copy of that?
I'm bad.
Well, we got-
Tell us
we got
about that,
one in- We got
Kim,
one
can
in
you?
April.
Yeah,
Close it out.
we have a couple that will drop off soon. This URA demo loan, the second one, it will Actually, we'll probably have it paid off a little sooner, but it's slated to be paid off in June of '24. But Tracy tries to make extra payments when she can. Next one to be paid off will be the guaranteed energy savings down at the bottom of the page. That was a 15-year loan, so at 5%, so happy to get that one paid off. One that you all had asked about at the last work session was the loan with BB&T. It was for a street flusher, a fire pumper truck, and a dozer. And that's on the second page. We have the yard waste vehicle, Packard truck, we paid off in April 25. The excavator, these are parks loans down at the bottom. They're actually not paid by the general fund, they're paid by the park board. But one will be paid off in 2024. I tried to list under there exactly what each one is for, if you have any questions. I'll try to explain better.
The Franklin turf upgrade, was there not insurance claim? What was the ending of that?
Well, we're still in a lawsuit, trying to get that money from the gentleman that worked with us on that, but I don't believe it was covered.
I know there's a lawsuit, that's what I was kind of referring to, I didn't know.
So that lawsuit's still ongoing?
Yes.
It's been going on for a while, right?
We did have someone take a look at this to see if there was any more refinancing that we could do. And we have some pretty good rates on a lot of them. So the only ones that we could refinance were what we did last year on the road embankment, sales tax bond, and the aquatic center. Everything else were at pretty good rates.
Yeah, probably now's not the time to refinance it.
The city hall's a big one. That'll be going pretty soon, huh?
That's in November of 25, huh?
Yeah.
$250 a year.
That's a big one.
I think I heard Jerry say that he was planning on building a new one.
Good one, Will.
I just want this wall knocked down over there so I can have some room.
He ain't worried about it. Just more room down there, huh?
Any questions on the debt service report? Next bullet point was your debt, or your summary of the ARPA funds. Did you all guys get this sheet? Okay. And Kim went through, and obviously on your budget, you'll see the same items reflected in yellow in your.
Yeah, are we gonna go through that? We're gonna go through this whole thing?
No, sir. Do you want to go through this whole thing?
You see all my notes? I told you I was gonna
Is
go
there
through it
any
line,
way to add that,
line by line.
the vehicle you guys use the most in that fire
Yes, sir,
department?
it's in there. It's in the levy. It's not in the general fund.
It's in the levy?
Yes, sir. And if I could add on that, we've appropriated $150,000 out of, it's in the levy fund, excess levy. That was to put money up with order. After we discussed that at the first council budget session, I got an email from Brittany. She's applied for an AFG grant in the amount of $683,000. Out of that, $570,000 is appropriated for a rescue truck, and $113,000 for 20 additional radios for the fire department. The AFG grant, she said, did not require a resolution at this time but it has a $32,000 match. And we'll know by the end of April. That's when they'll start making the notifications of the award of the grant. So obviously, we don't want to do anything, and this wouldn't happen until July anyway. We don't want to do anything to order a truck, and we'd be in the same position that we would be in with the concrete and the stuff that we did with Glenelg. Obviously, we can't order a truck and then get for a grant to pay for that. So the money is still, it's in the excess levy, $150,000 for the rescue truck. It's 2 years out. It's 24-month with delivery. None of the manufacturers require payment in advance, but we were going to put the $150,000 down. And then that would give us kind of a year to see how the ARPA money was going, to see if there was any, we could finish paying it off, or we could put it on a payment plan should that be necessary. But it gave us some breathing room to at least have more opportunities to take the remaining ARPA funds for a one-time problem and use it for that if we needed to.
And that grant what kind of match on that?
It's a 5% match.
Just a 5%?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because of the size of our city and we're under $1 million, it's a 5% match.
Well, that would be great, wouldn't it?
It's a $683,000 grant, and we would be responsible for $32,000.
Wow, that'd be huge, wouldn't it?
And we didn't add, our grants for the last couple of years have always focused on radios and air packs, and she did not include our air packs in that grant specifically because every grant has a focus. And she said she felt that would be counterproductive and almost knock us out of the potential for the grant. So she left them out. So we would have that $113,000, $118,000 left that we could maybe repurpose either back into the budget or towards air packs. And we could, basically wipe out the capital needs the department's trying to facilitate.
The 113, what would be the remaining for the air packs that would be needed?
Well, again, there was different vendors that have different options. They have payment plans. That would put us in a position where we could easily do that in a 3-year payment plan very easily. I think the total on the air packs was right around 380 or 390 total. So that would go a long way to pay those off and leave, to facilitate a portion where we could get it in a payment plan.
Speaking of all these equipment, I really, and I've said it before, I really think we should upgrade the facilities over at Public Works to keep some of these equipment better taken care of. Obviously, I think we need a better scheduled maintenance plan and cleaning plan over there on the individual level. But I just, any equipment that's going to be indoors is going to be better off than it's going to be sitting out there. Certain equipment is not really, doesn't matter, but I think we really need to look at that. Gary's got a couple people that can build a pole building, right? Pretty quickly.
See?
But seriously, I really think we need to consider that and discuss that. Very bad.
To answer your question, Wayne, I think Chief Kidby just informed me, he thinks that they facilitate a lot of the area inside the Logan building to start putting some of the things that they can put indoors. Obviously, they can't store all their trucks and stuff inside, but the spreaders and some of the things that we can put inside, I think they're going to do that.
We have room where we got rid of those bucks. I shouldn't say that.
You got to bring that up.
It's something I would say, though.
I
So.
think Johnny's got the whole list. Got a bit of Joe pile. We're going to do an auction over there.
Oh, great.
Auction off a lot of there's a lot of stuff over there.
Is that scheduled that you know of, or?
He's been working on it for a couple of months. It should be coming up.
Good.
Auction off what we can to empty that building out. I don't know if you've been in the building, but there's a lot of room in that building. They can store it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good.
So we're not going to go through this budget page by page.
Jim's wanting to. You want to, Jimmy?
Well, I mean, I have a question like on
Yes,
page,
sir. Can I answer any of your questions?
on page 3, clear at the bottom where it says cable franchise fee, the actual $69,066, and we proposed $200,000.
That was anticipated revenues, correct. We think that this is probably coming in from basically streaming services. Our cable franchise fees are paid to us by the amount of people that are, living in the city that are buying our cable.
Cable's dying.
How many people are,
Cutting that cord.
are cutting the cord, correct? So, again, this is, an area that, again, we underestimated or overestimated our revenues, and this is for that reason. It's been.
Page 10. I mean, I know, what's the mobile electronic display boards? 40,000.
That's, Mr. Whitmore's son.
That was something in the first presentation, I'm sorry you weren't able to miss, or you were here and missed it, but those are those, trailer display boards that you see along the interstates for events, or traffic congestion, wreck ahead. That's what those are for, and they, it was pointed out by economic development, and also by Chief Kitty and Public Works, that they would be mutually beneficial when we're having some kind of a function to kind of reroute and redirect traffic.
Okay.
I had a question on two line items.
Yes, sir.
On page 10, the on-track Main Street downtown events, is that to, there's $10,000 in that line item. Is that to start a Main Street organization? Is that, will a nonprofit be starting that Main Street organization and we just fund it $10,000, or is that going to be like an arm of the city?
That would just be for ancillary costs going through initiating the on-track process. The city would be involved in that process, but I guess it's something that we've been discussing with Clarksburg Uptown, the First Fridays events group. All of the operations that are going on independently could be brought into a Main Street organization, which would then be hopefully, well, the goal is to have a self-sufficient 501c3 that's able to supplement state funding with their own private donations.
Yeah, and I support that. I mean, because I think a lot of these groups that are doing good things in the city, a lot of times they don't have a 501c3 nonprofit that they could leverage sponsorships through, and then they're, from what I'm seeing, is it's just becoming a line item in the CVB, which is not necessarily within the mission of the CVB. So I think this would be good. I just had a question about that because I didn't know whether or not. So when is this? Do we have like a anticipated or estimated time of whether or not when this is going to come to fruition, since we're going to give $10,000 towards it?
The on-track application process has not opened. It is anticipated to open this year for the state.
Okay. And the second question I had, and this would probably pertain to economic development too, on page 11, when it says land reuse agency property acquisition funding, so we're putting $20,000 into a land bank, land reuse agency. Where are we at into developing either an ordinance or a resolution to start a land bank? Is that going to be ran through the city or also through a nonprofit economic development authority or some sort?
That would be through the city.
Okay.
As the land reuse agency, it's under your powers of, I believe, in Chapter 8. But the actual administration of it is something we need to discuss. Our office with economic development, we're working with the city attorney to get on the craft language ordinance. We've been looking at Charleston as a model as opposed to Morgantown, given they have the better slum and blight issue as opposed to preservation focus. But we're working on it. We will be getting this to council in the coming months to discuss at a workshop and proceed. But
Okay.
the 20,000 is an estimate. That would be to establish just most likely 3 properties in a tax sale once the state auditor's tax sale process gets up and running. We'd be able to actually go through the process and establish what we can functionally do. But
And those are just the 20,000. Would this be being able to purchase first at tax sale these 3 properties? Right?
That's correct. And yeah, most likely only 3 properties.
But we would first have to pass a land reuse agency.
And have then the land reuse agency should then establish the plan for what they would be purchasing, why, and where. So
Okay.
once that's fully established, then the funds would be allocated in this budget process for the purchase.
Okay. That sounds good. And do we have like an estimated time of when we would be able to, I know you said the coming months, you and the city attorney are going to be drafting, I guess, either an ordinance or a resolution to start this. Do we have like a projected time when that's gonna happen.
He gave us a layout of the different things
Yeah.
at the last meeting, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's been slightly delayed, but we anticipate that we can, or staff could be able to have an agency before council and an ordinance by the beginning of probably July at this point.
Okay, that's good.
Because you did establish a time frame that you gave us that we would do X, Y, and Z.
Yes, and
Okay.
once the budget the budget process is going to be taking most of your focus right now. We have the comprehensive plan really should come first, then after that, we can develop the land use agency as a component of the plan. But we'll be discussing this with you from a staff perspective in the coming weeks when we have an opportunity to get past the budgeting questions.
So you're wanting to do, like we had talked about, do a work session with the comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw what 20,000 was. Since we didn't have one yet, just
Pull
wanted
out
to make
on that
sure.
lever.
So,
Huh?
but thank
Pull
you.
out on that lever, pull it out.
I think I'm being set up with this chair.
Jerry rigged your chair. Okay, page 18.
Page 18,
Page 18. Under contractual services, education / meeting registration and training fees, 23,000.
it's under code enforcement.
Yeah.
That's
actually,
code enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he
Okay.
proposed a lot more training sessions.
Okay, and then, don't get me wrong here, I like National Night Out. We haven't budgeted anything, page 28, for 4 years, and now we're budgeting 8,000?
And we haven't had
Haven't had it.
it this year. We
Because of
haven't had it
COVID.
over 2 years, and we had it last year. And I don't use that money unless, the reason I put it in the budget is we go out and get donations as much as we can,
Right.
but just in case, we gotta have that money, you know, set aside in case we don't make it. Because donations are a little bit harder to get anymore since COVID. And to be honest with you, I'm not big on hitting up the public and businesses for a lot of donations, because it's always the same people
That's fine.
that give the money. And we budgeted this year, I think, Ken, we used, most of us do donation money,
Yes.
but it's just there just in case.
Okay. Page 29. What is MPFRS?
That's the new municipal police and fire pension.
Okay, thank you. Uniforms and jackets, that's, I understand, we need to, one more, guys, and I'm done.
You need to get back to work. You got too much time on your hands.
Huh?
You got too much time on your hands.
What do you say?
You need to go back to work. You've got too much time on your hands.
I told Steve, I went through every line, every one of them you got. I'm sitting at home, fellas, and I'm recuperating a knee here.
What page you on?
This is page 1 of 4 of the excess levy fund. The real and personal property taxes current year, actuals 578 and were proposed 825. That's page 1 of 4. At the top of the page, Kim.
Okay. So I'm sorry, are you looking at the actual?
Yeah, the actual's 578, but it's proposed at 825.
Right, we don't have those numbers yet.
Oh, okay.
From the county, so I didn't even venture a guess yet.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
We'll get those before the budget needs to go to the state, if we're supposed to.
Okay,
So we'll correct those.
that's all I had, guys.
Anyone else?
Short,
Good job.
21, 22.
More. Steve,
Well, believe me, it was a
Kim.
concerted effort between the three of them.
good job.
I had 2 things I wanted to bring up real quick.
That's
We don't,
adjourned.
we don't really need to go through the budget, we can just talk. I'm a little disturbed by the fact that we're gonna start paving in spring.
Well, now,
I really think maybe we should just freeze that whole program.
I attended a water board meeting, and water board administration is going to be setting up a meeting with us and our public works at the same time because of that simple thing. Their first phase in their projects is going to be Northview, Staley, and Monticello or Montpelier maybe, but they're gonna be concentrating on those areas. And they wanna get with us before we do any paving in those areas, so we may have to revisit, you know,
I really think we should just freeze the whole program. I know we started doing it in spring,
because they're gonna be in it,
and that's this year's budget still, right?
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
I don't think we should do that. I mean, that's just my opinion.
They wanna meet with us soon, so that we don't start.
They're gonna
paving
tear
streets and get them
damn near
done.
every street in the city. I mean, it would be really dumb for us to go start paving roads.
Well, I'm sure Johnny would thoroughly, he doesn't want to pave and then come in, so I don't think that.
He's just as anxious about it as the rest of us are. Johnny's just as concerned as everybody.
We've not had a good track record of this, so I'm worried.
And I can understand your
We've
sentiment.
had a very bad track record of this.
So, I mean, we do have a meeting that we're gonna set up with them before we ever start this. So we'll have, Johnny will bring with him the streets that we had scheduled for the spring. And we'll see if any of them, we have to, we may go to a different area.
Will you get with us before
Yes, sir.
any blacktops ever laid
Yes,
down?
sir.
And that's the thing.
I agree with you.
That's the thing. I don't think it's gonna be one area or one street. It's gonna be
Well, I know
pretty
they're-
widespread.
Their first phase, they told us, but we'll make sure that, you know, please.
And if they're gonna do it 6 months later, that's not any better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're in a point where every neighborhood is gonna get torn up here.
Oh, I
We
agree.
should restart the whole program for sure.
I think we should have an inspector on the job.
The other thing that, if
We
I,
need to start with
am I
spring
allowed to
gathering.
talk about spring cleanup
What do you say?
here?
What's that?
Am I allowed to bring up spring cleanup? Johnny Woodward asked me to bring that up.
Well, it's coming up,
Well,
so.
he wants to
We're
know-
definitely doing spring cleanup.
Okay, that's all I need. If you want it, he wants it the first.
We're not gonna do that to you, Steve.
He wants it the last 3 weeks of March. He's already got the date set, so we can go with it.
Yeah, we want spring cleanup.
Okay.
We're not messing with spring cleanup.
Okay. He's already got-
You be public enemy number one.
He's already got it all planned out. He's got his windows. He's got
Yeah.
everything done. He just wants to do it before April.
Yeah.
Because that starts into a different program.
All right.
Okay, so I'm okay to let him go?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
The only other thing I wanted to bring up was the EMS thing. And I don't know how we get into that or how we start it, but
I can put you.
I know you've been working on it. Where are we at on that?
Harry, actually, when he was here, he asked for us to do a study on an advanced life support unit. And what that was going to be was just a unit that was, it wasn't a transport unit, it was just a stabilization unit that would provide us with paramedics to respond here in town, but would not transport. That I feel would be fruitless because.
Where's
you're
the
doing
money at?
You're doing all the work and we're not getting the money. The
We
money's
gotta
in the
transport it.
Gotta get that money.
So I would,
We get to the
I mean,
kids.
I have.
Plus, we'd have to immediately hire additional employees for that, right?
Well, we have enough for BLS transports. It would be difficult to get ALS transport capable.
That's what I'm saying. If we started a BLS ambulance, we could be
Yeah, this-
operational with the guys we have.
Exactly. We'd have to do what every other agency is doing and be proactive and that's what's going on now. The field in that arena is very thin. So what you see is the same individuals going from agency to agency, similar to what Chief Kitty's having in regards to law enforcement. Whoever pays the most is where they're going. And if you're getting into the EMT side of things, the BLS transports, we have 22 EMTs on staff. We could facilitate that. If you get into ALS transports, we don't have but one paramedic. We have one that's a captain, but pretty unlikely he's going to be riding an ambulance. But so you're looking at a little bit different animal, but it is something that's doable. And
So, just to review things that me and you've already talked about, so me asking you questions just for their benefit. How much do you think it would cost us to get 2 ambulances up and running?
I can tell you what City of Nutter Fort's expected costs were, and that was close to $600,000 for 2 ambulances, staffed 24 hours a day.
And what kind of yearly income did they?
That I don't have any idea what their income expectations are. Ours would obviously be exponentially higher than that, specifically because Clarksburg Fire Department does about 8 emergency medical calls per day. That's just basically BLS emergency medical stabilization calls. We don't even respond to ambulance locals, the ones where they need somebody to help them get to the hospital. We don't even respond to those. Now, the biggest thing that your counterintuitive thing is the fact that a lot of your income comes from Medicare and Medicaid. And that's where your for-profit agencies steer away from, because you may bill Medicaid $100,000 this month, and they may send you 40 and say, okay, that's what we're going to give you.
Those are like mostly the dialysis transports?
Well, what they do is they'll do the contract work, the dialysis transports, the inter-hospital transports from nursing home to hospital and hospitals back. That's where your guaranteed money is at. But when you're picking up the average person here that I don't feel well, I've got the flu, I don't feel good, I need a ride to the hospital. Those are your Medicare and Medicaid individuals, and it's hard to sustain personnel and ambulances based on that alone. But it's a service that the city of Clarksburg used to provide. The only ambulance in the city, in the county, was from Clarksburg, and that was decades before I was hired. But it is something that if you're looking for a revenue stream, it's there.
Can you do some research and we do a work session
Yes, sir.
on that?
On that, yeah, be glad.
I mean, get all the
And also,
information.
just to kind of make it on the record too, the reason we started talking about this is we've definitely seen a reduction in service from Harrison County.
Yeah.
We've seen ambulances coming all the way from Salem for life-threatening calls, and that's
It's not uncommon
not right for our citizens.
for people here in our city to wait 15, 20 minutes on an ambulance for transport. That's fairly common. Luckily, there'll be less transports, but you never know what you're going to run into. They can turn that quick that it can turn to an ALS or a real problem issue.
Will you let me know and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
schedule a work session so everybody can get up to speed on what we're talking about?
One last question. The pending grants that we have right now, do we have that money earmarked to put away? Is it not? I don't see it anywhere on here.
It's in your excess. It's in that 150,000 excess levy.
Okay.
You mean you talk about the fire department grant?
No. I'm talking about the trails grant, the bridge.
We normally we don't budget for grant revenue.
But those are something especially the bridge one. I mean, that's something I think we should probably earmark that money. I mean, if it's there's over $1 million if we match that grant, right? For the bridges, it might way
right.
up.
We put money to match. We put money in the sales tax budget for bridges and slips.
I'm talking about the grant that we have pending right now that Brittany applied for and the rails.
You mean putting a match? I'm sorry. I thought
The match,
you were
yeah,
putting
I'm
the
sorry,
revenue.
yeah. The match is for the grant, and even for the bike trail and the rails for trails and the bridges.
No, I don't really do anything for the bike trail. We do have 500,000 for bridges.
I think the bike trails are pending. They should be. I don't know what it is. I think it's. I don't know the cost of it. One was like 163, and the other was around maybe less. I just know, especially if we get a grant and we don't take it or we don't have the money to pay for it, then that doesn't look good on the grant side. That's all.
Any other questions, comments? You guys did a good job again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Steve. Got a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We gonna get to tonight?
Unless you
Motion
wanna hang
second. All in favor? Aye.
Had to-